We find ourselves in northern New South Wales and the blackbutt forests around Coffs Harbour, Nick, which have in fact been harvested now for almost 150 years.
Andrew, there is a rich and proud tradition of forestry in this area, and this place is a classic example of the renewable nature of forestry. If done well, no reason why it can't be done for the next 150 years and beyond. These logs, which are being loaded up ready to go to the mill, are some of this country's most sought-after resource.
These iconic Aussie species, including blackbutt, spotted gum and ironbark, will be turned into a range of high-value products. Harvesting in this part of the world has been ongoing for generations, providing employment to hundreds in the Coffs Coast region at any one time. The question is, how do you log the same area for more than a century and have it continue to produce such high-value trees?
I've been working in these forests in the Coffs Harbour area now for almost 30 years, and this particular logging operation is the fourth time we've been on this site. So for me to come out to the forest and see pretty much the same forest as I saw when I first arrived here 30 years ago, it still looks the same to me, is encouraging, I guess, and it just does demonstrate the sustainability of the operation.
The thinning of New South Wales native forests is often a fairly gentle affair. It's called single tree selection, contractors taking only the trees that are ready for harvest and leaving plenty of others.
The major benefit from single tree selection logging is that you do retain forest cover. So it looks after the multiple purposes of forest. You've still got your soils protected, still got watershed protected and habitat for wildlife. And it also enables us to manage this forest in an ongoing way, so we can come back and get another cut from it every 10 years or so. So we've always got that continual crop growing on.
So we're inside the coop here, Dale, and one thing that I've noticed is these marks on the trees. What does that R stand for?
Yep, in single tree selection, one of the things we do is retain trees for a whole range of purposes, and one of those is for wildlife habitat. And an R tree is a recruit habitat tree, so that in time will develop hollows or dens for arboreal animals to live in.
And there's one over here with an H on it.
Yeah, so this is a tree that does have hollows in it now and has been retained in this logging operation and also in a whole range of previous operations. In fact, you can see the old marks from where it's been retained before. It's got hollows in it for wildlife to live in.
So it stood there and watched logging operation after logging operation after logging operation?
Yeah, there's been around about a dozen logging operations in this site here, and that one's been there since well before then. Yeah.
Before any tree is harvested, the operations are carefully planned. Starting in the office and then stretching into the field, it's the job of Forestry Corporation planners to go over each harvest site with a fine-tooth comb.
Usually we start our planning process a couple of years ahead of the actual logging operation. There's a whole series of checks and balances we have to go through. Ecology, flora and fauna surveys. We look for cultural heritage, artefacts or special sites of significance. We talk to the community around the forest about any special values in the forest. One of the most important things we look at is the forest itself. How are we going to turn it over and regrow it so it's here forever in the way it is now?
These days the planner's job is made even more accurate with the introduction of new technology being utilised from above and below the forest canopy.
The last few years it's been fantastic. We've got better on-ground information in terms of we're using LiDAR technology to get really good ground terrain models to tell us exactly what the slopes are. We've got really good aerial photography that tells us exactly what species mix is where. And yeah, look, it's just made our job so much easier.
Once an area's been approved for harvest, contractors go in and begin operations. Harvesting this way means a patch of bush can be harvested every decade or so. Once finished and the machinery is moved out and the area is left to regenerate.
When we harvest an operation, we make sure that it's going to regrow. We don't go in there unless we know we can regrow it. Every time we harvest a tree, we know there's going to be a new one grow in its place, so the forest will be like this in 100 years from now.
Now you can't keep coming back to the same patch of bush for over 100 years and doing a harvest every 20 or 30 years if the trees are not going to grow back, Nick. Regeneration is vital.
It is in fact, Andrew, the key to all of this, and Mother Nature is very good, but sometimes she struggles, and that's when the forest managers have to pull a few tricks out of their sleeve.
Typically we come back to a harvested area about 1 to 3 years after harvesting, and conduct regeneration assessments. That involves putting a number of plots in throughout the harvested area and making sure that there's young seedlings growing in that area and ensuring that they're at the right density that's going to create the next crop of trees in this forest.
Something that you probably see every day but don't give a second thought to, Nick, power poles. These ones come from the forests around this area.
They are the perfect demonstration, Andrew, of the renewable nature of forestry. When this pole is done, when it's had its life in, say, 50 years, another tree will have grown up to replace it. And that means we can have power poles forever and ever and ever. That's good. This type of regeneration forestry also has advantages when talking about carbon.
Trees are a natural product, and as they grow they use carbon as part of the growing process. Wood is made mostly of carbon, so they absorb carbon as they grow, and by us removing some of those trees creates conditions for new trees to grow and store new carbon. But also as those products are taken off and turned into houses or flooring or whatever, that carbon is also stored in for the life of that product.
Selective harvesting for timber production is not the same as deforestation or clear felling. Native forests regrow naturally after harvesting. New South Wales state forests are certified sustainable, so you know they are managed responsibly in line with strict environmental standards.
And less than 10% of the forested land in the state is managed by Forest Corporation of New South Wales, and of that only a tiny fraction is harvested. To find out more, visit www.forestcorporation.com.au.